Okay, we're a minute past the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Air Pollution Control District's Clearing the Air workshop. My name is Matt Mudd, and I'm the communications coordinator at the APCD. I'll be the one taking us through most of this workshop and presentation, and I'll introduce the other staff member here who will be presenting. I'll also be monitoring the chat during the workshop, dropping links, guiding us through, and please don't hesitate to send a message or ask a question. Questions will get addressed during the question and answer portion after the presentation, but we encourage you to, as you think of them, drop them in the chat. They'll get addressed later. So you could always hold off until the Q&A session as well if you want to say your question out loud. Either way works by us. So want to make sure that everyone knows this meeting is being recorded. So all of our attendees are starting off muted, but once the presentation is complete, we will stop recording and open the floor for questions and discussion. The workshop video and the presentation slides will be posted to our website in the coming days. So a couple things about our workshops. We developed the Clearing the Air workshop series to offer an inside look at the work of Louisville's local air pollution control agency and to offer an opportunity to interact with the professionals tasked with protecting Louisville's air. Often, residents only interact with local government in formal settings that don't provide an opportunity for interaction and feedback. Our goal here is to fix that. A few quick webinar tips before we get started. Again, you will be muted during the presentation portion, but you can drop questions in the chat at any time or wait to ask it until after the presentation. If you think of any question after you leave or at any time at all, feel free to email it to us later at air@louisvilleky.gov. We're always happy to answer those questions and really appreciate hearing from folks. A reminder that there is no such thing as a silly question. I, of all people, know that this work can be complicated. I have to explain a lot of things about our work, and it can be difficult to understand on the first go. So our best tool to clear the air, as it's titled, is hearing from you all. So we appreciate hearing back from you, getting questions. Some of our best conversations with residents come from questions that are asked of us. Lastly, please make sure to let us know if you have any feedback on this workshop or ideas for future workshops. There will be a short survey available to you after the workshop. And as always, like I said, we'd love to hear from you anytime at air@louisvilleky.gov. So now we can get into tonight's topic, learning about the air quality data, and APCD's online resources. So here's a little roadmap of our presentation today. First, to be aware where air data comes from, then an overview of our website, some APCD resources, and then some resources from other places like federal and local agencies. Then we'll have time for Q&A and discussion. So first, as kind of a framer for the rest of the presentation, where does air quality information come from? So it comes from a variety of places. First off, perhaps the most intuitive of them is air monitoring, basically sampling the air so that we know what's in it. So there are sites throughout the country that are operated by air pollution control agencies like ours, both state and local. APCD, our local agency, operates 5 air monitoring sites throughout Louisville. They collect samples from the air using a variety of instruments. I like to say there are some that are high-tech and scan the air, and there's instruments as simple as filters that collect particles, and they're weighed after they collect those particles. So we really run the gamut on tools used to measure the air quality. We also have special air monitoring projects, like the West Louisville Air Toxic Study, which was a landmark study done about 20 years ago on the air in Louisville. It prompted the creation of the Strategic Toxic Air Reduction Program, which is our local program to regulate air toxics. And then we have another special air monitoring project that we've received funding for through EPA, and we are in the early process of that. We'll be partnering with U of L Envirom, the West Jefferson County Community Task Force, Park Duval Community Health, and Louisville's Department of Public Health and Wellness to complete that project. So a variety of places that monitoring the air or collecting samples in the air can provide us more information on Louisville's air quality. There's also an emerging field of low-cost air sensors. Those are sensors that are more accessible, both in cost and in use, to the more accessible for the general public, but they still require some expert knowledge. But that's a rapidly emerging field. If you want to know more about air sensors and air monitoring, we had a workshop last month on that. The recording's available on our website. So beyond air monitoring, we also use emissions data to understand what's in the air. So national inventories like the National Emissions Inventory and the Toxic Release Inventory, which are both produced by EPA, as well as local emission statements collected from permitted facilities by APCD. We have a permitting emissions inventory program that is handled by our permitting staff here from all of our sources in Louisville, our stationary sources, permitted sources. We also have modeling done for a variety of sectors and sources that aren't permitted, at least by APCD, like vehicles, trains, things like that. There are other places that we get data from to produce the resources that we use, like excess emissions reports from facilities, odor and nuisance reports from residents, things like that. And you'll learn a little bit more about those other things as we get going and learn more about our resources. Back to the roadmap again. And I will stop sharing for a second. We're going to give you an overview of our website now. So I do want to say our website is a phenomenal resource, I think, but it's continuing to grow, and it has a lot of information and data that we produce on Louisville's air quality. And here I'm stalling until I get it up on the screen. So this is our front page. It's part of the Louisville Metro government website. This is our front page. We have a couple of the most commonly visited pages up at front. You have a prompt to report an odor, overburning, or other air pollution issue, live current air quality conditions, information about our board meetings, public hearings, and events, proposed actions, air quality reports, dashboards, and data, and odors. So it's tough to begin to explain all of the information that's on our website. I do think that it would be great for you all to explore it. But what we're going to be concentrating mostly on today is air quality data and other resources. And where you'll find most of that is up here on the left-hand menu under About Louisville's Air. We have live air quality data, air quality reports, dashboards, and data, information about our national ambient air quality standard status, and things like that. So this air quality reports, dashboards, and data would be a great place for you to start doing research or learn more about our air. This is kind of a quick scroll through it, but I will drop a link to our website in the chat, and I implore you to look at it further, but we'll look into some of those specific resources in a moment. So now I will pass it on to Ben Jacobs, our APCD's data analysis coordinator. Ben is an environmental scientist with a background in conservation biology and geographical information systems. So in his role at APCD, he makes interpretive data resources and dynamic mapping tools for the APCD that are intended to aid internal operations and inform the public about air quality data and trends in Louisville. Oh wait, I will not pass it on to Ben because I did that early. But now you have been introduced to Ben. I'm going to take you to explain a little bit of background before he takes you through our resources about, apologies, the Air Quality Index. So if you're not familiar, briefly, the Air Quality Index is a tool that we use to inform people about what's in the air. So it's calculated for 5 criteria pollutants. That's ozone, particle pollution, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide. It's a scale from 1 to 500 that is sorted into health-based categories ranging from good to hazardous. The highest pollutant at the highest site in the area sets an AQI for a day. So this is gathered, like I mentioned, air monitoring earlier. This comes from information gathered at APCD's air monitoring sites throughout the area. So now I will pass it on to Ben. Our first couple of resources that he'll go through touch on some of this AQI data. So Ben, I'll let you share your screen.
Sorry, there we go. Getting the right screen up. All right, so like Matt said, I'm Benjamin Jacobs. I'm a data analysis coordinator with the APCD. Most of my job involves making resources like dashboards and maps that we either use internally or, as you'll see today, we put a lot of them up on our website for public use. So we just talked about the AQI. So the first resource we're going to go through is actually one I didn't have a hand in making. It's been around for a little while, called Louisville Air Watch, and it provides a way for the public and really anybody to see the live AQI and other air monitoring info from both our monitoring network and from other local sites operated by IDEM, that's Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and the Kentucky Department of Air Quality. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull that up. See if we can get a refresh here. So you can see here we've got the front page of Louisville Air Watch. When you pull it up, it shows the live AQI at the city level. So this is just the highest AQI at any of the sites in our area will determine our regional AQI. And it also shows some health guidance based on that AQI. So if this wasn't in that 0 to 50 good range, if it was, say, a little over 100 to be unsafe for sensitive or unhealthy for sensitive groups, this health information might be a little different. The front page also has a live map showing the air monitoring sites individually and their highest AQI at each site. And you can actually click into these sites to get into an independent page. So if you were to click this one here for Cannons Lane, which I've already done, you can see it brings us into the Cannons Lane site. It shows us that highest AQI for that monitoring site, as well as an AQI breakdown per pollutant. So since PM 2.5 is showing currently as the highest AQI at the site at 12, that's what's determining the site AQI. Other times of the day, you'll see the other criteria air pollutants like ozone here. This seemed to just refresh right before we started, and a lot of them aren't showing up right now. In addition, on these independent site specific pages, you can see a pollutant breakdown by concentration. So here on this tab for pollutants, these are the criteria air pollutants. You can see their actual concentrations in parts per billion. And you can also see that information for air toxics, which is another category of pollutants that we regulate. And if you're interested in looking at all this data in a little more granular spreadsheet, you can actually download monthly data sets here with this export readings button. And if you want to get a monthly data set for the AQI rather than the actual pollutant concentrations, you can do that from the home page. You can actually see a graph of it here, and then you can pick your month and export AQI. And I think that's all I have for Louisville Air Watch. So moving on, we can talk about our AQI dashboard, which is one of our more recent dashboards that we've published. So the AQI dashboard, it visualizes daily AQI trends in Louisville between the years 2005 and the current year, 2023. And we chose that because that was the year our STAR program began in 2005. So I'll go ahead and pull that up. And we start on our front page here. You can see what we're looking at initially is the trends for the daily top pollutant of each day for all the years on an annual basis. So you can see in 2008 we had 82 good days, 212 moderate days, 65 USG, that's unhealthy for sensitive group days, and 7 unhealthy. And you can kind of see over time, as the years went on, we've progressively gotten better with our air quality in Louisville. We've got, a higher proportion of the days per year being good AQI days, and, our USG days are falling down. It's worth noting that these old years are taking those historical concentrations that we have and applying modern standards to them. So our modern standards are more strict than they used to be. And so maybe if you were around in 2007, we weren't saying these were moderate days. Maybe they were reading as good, but now we're a little more strict with our standards. So based on those concentrations, the AQI is showing those were moderate, and now we've got a higher concentration of good days. So we can filter these down. If, say, you don't want to see just the daily top pollutant, you want to see our ozone trends, we can do that. So rather than picking the highest AQI for each day, it's showing specifically the ozone AQI for each day, which those things may overlap sometimes, but they won't always. Some days PM 2.5 might be our highest. Some days ozone might be something like that. So these are just our ozone trends. And then we can even filter down by category. So say we just want to see our good days versus our USG days. We can do things like that as well. We can also take years out, so we can look at, just the modern years. And we can even break it down into monthly trends. So we can see month to month for all of our years. And we can scroll since there's so many years here, or we can just bring it down. So say we just want to look at 2023, daily top pollutant in all categories, month by month. And you can see the beginning of the year, we're doing well. We had a little spike of moderate and USG days in the summer. You guys may remember the wildfire smoke had a big impact on the city. And then as we're moving into winter, we're getting a little better. This is also the summer months are our ozone season. So we typically see that kind of trend where our moderate days, USG days spike a little in the summer. And then, of course, we've just got a guide down here for your reference. These are just AQI categories pulled from the EPA's website. Have it always there for reference. And on our second page, these are our top pollutant trends. So this is a little bit more in the weeds, a little bit more detail. We can actually pick a year. So let's pick 2022 since that's our last full complete year. And you can see which pollutants were our top pollutant, which ones were setting that daily AQI how many times per year. So out of the 365 days of 2022, PM 2.5 was our top pollutant 194 times. Ozone was our top pollutant 164 times. And then to break it down even more, of those 164 days that ozone was our top pollutant, 118 of them were under that AQI of 50. So even though ozone was our top pollutant on those days, everything else was lower. 39 of them were moderate and 7 were USG. Whereas the PM 2.5, you can see it was top pollutant more often on those moderate days. Yeah, and I believe that's it for our AQI dashboard. So just in the interest of time, I'm going to keep rolling. I believe we have a section at the end for a Q&A, so just keep track of any questions you might have, and we'll do our best to answer them in just a little bit. So moving on to our emissions inventory dashboard. This is another one that has been around for quite a while. I've helped update it, things like that. And this visualizes local emission sources using data from the EPA's National Emissions Inventory. That's what the NEI is. And that's a comprehensive estimate of emissions of a variety of pollutants, both criteria air pollutants, air toxics, a whole bunch of pollutants. And that's released by the EPA every 3 years. So the most recent data set in this resource is going to be our 2020 NEI release. So when you get to it, you'll have this homepage just with some explainers, some links to some helpful information. You can click into this first page, which visualizes emission totals by source category. You can filter down to each year. You can see it's those 3-year releases from the EPA. You can choose just to see criteria air pollutants, hazardous air pollutants, greenhouse gases, or a combination of them, or you can just pick a specific pollutant. So say you want to see carbon monoxide. And when I say those source categories, we're talking about point sources, on-road sources, non-road sources, and non-point sources. You can also choose surrounding counties. That's kind of a benefit of the NEI. It's a national emissions inventory, so we've got a little bit of a broader scope here. There's some more information here that you can read about to get some clarity about what some of these things mean. A better explainer on hazardous air pollutants talks about what these source categories actually are. And then moving on to page 3, similar information, but it's broken out by sector, emission sector. So right now we're set to PM 2.5, but if you were on all pollutants, you could also click into those criteria: air pollutants, hazardous air pollutants, greenhouse gases, whatever you'd like. And these emission sectors are things like fuel combustion and residential wood stoves, fuel combustion and industrial boilers, things like that. So you can see really what kind of industries, what sectors our emissions are coming from for each pollutant. And again, we've got those county breakdowns as well. Our last page here actually breaks down point source emissions by facility. So you can see where in the city the facilities are that are emitting whichever pollutant you choose to filter down to. It's worth noting that these circles, they don't indicate area of effect or geographic spread. You can actually see they rescale when you zoom in and out. These are just indicators of emission quantity kind of relative to each other. So bigger circles mean more emissions, smaller circles are smaller emissions. Yeah. Sorry, there you go. I was gonna say, it should have a little more information when you mouse over, so you can see the actual facility name and the emission totals in tons per year of whichever gas you've chosen. And I believe that's it for our NEI dashboard. So moving on, this is kind of a doozy for us. This is our big odor service request dashboard. So this visualizes records of our odor investigations. So we call those service requests, and that's an important distinction for now because service requests are those investigation records, are not necessarily every single report that comes in. What may happen is that if a bunch of reports come in about the same odor or the same event, we'll store those under the same service request because they're being investigated in tandem. And that just helps our compliance team kind of keep track of which reports are associated with each other and keep their investigations nice and tidy. So I'll go ahead and pull that up. Like the NEI dashboard, you can see we've got kind of a home page with some explainers, some help navigating. It talks about this term location resolution, which is kind of important when you're looking at the map that's going to be on this dashboard, because as you can imagine, we're getting odor reports from all over the city from a bunch of different methods and a bunch of different people. They don't always have the same level of location information. Sometimes we get an actual coordinate, sometimes we get an address number, and sometimes we just get a zip code or a neighborhood. And so those things affect how we map the reports for the dashboard. So we'll click in using that button in the top right and give the map a second to load here. Sometimes it's a little sluggish. But you can see at the top, we've got a slew of filters. We've got a date range, a zip code, status of resolution, and a couple graphs. So our graphs are showing the number of service requests by month as they come in. So you can see in 2022, we had a huge surge of service requests in September. And it's also showing it by zip code. You can see we have a higher concentration of them in the 40211 zip code. And it kind of lets people come into the dashboard and see where we're seeing consistent issues in the city. I don't know why the map isn't loading here. It should be showing quite a few dots for us, showing each service request. There we go. So I just clicked a filter here to try to give the dashboard a kickstart. That should load these dots no matter what filters you have, but it is responsive. So say you want to just see service requests opened in summer of 2021. So I can hold control to click multiple graphs. And now I'm just looking at the summer months, and we've got 142 total service requests. None of them are marked in progress. These are the ones that have been mapped. And then there were 9 in this data set that didn't have any location information. So we couldn't really map them, but if you still wanted to see what they were, you can click this link and actually see the date they came in and the description given by their reporter. And you can filter this page down as well, but you go back and we're back here. There's a reset button. You can see, so total, we've got 1608 service requests in the dashboard right now. This is updated quarterly, although Our most recent update for October of this year is a little delayed. It's on hold because we're in the middle of a pretty major overhaul to the dashboard. We've been working on a way to pull out individual reports from our workflow system and get them mapped the same way we do service requests, so that when the new update does come out, our 2.0, so to speak, we won't have to have this caveat about service requests. It will just be every report submitted to the district on a map for anybody to see. And hopefully that's a little more functional and usable for people that want to use the dashboard. Let's see. I think that's all we have for the odor service request. Hopefully I didn't move too quickly through that. But moving on is our excess emission event dashboard. This is a little bit of a simpler resource. So when regulated facilities have a potential excess emission event, meaning there's potential for excess emissions to have been released from their facility, they're required to submit a report to the district. And so this dashboard, which I'll open for us now, is a really simple one-page dashboard that's just showing the date of their report, the company that submitted it, where they are, the type of event, and it shows what it was, or sorry, where it is on the map. And you can actually click into these links for a PDF, hosted PDF document of the report itself. So if you want to read all about what happened and how it was resolved, things like that, all those documents go straight into this excess emissions event dashboard. You can filter down. So if you're looking for a specific company, if you're just looking for a certain date, or you want to see the ones near you, that's all things you can do. And it'll just cut down this table for you and help you find it. Also, if you find one on the table that you're interested in, you can click it, and like our odor dash, it will zoom for you. Just kind of show you exactly where it is on the map, where that facility is, based on the address listed in the report. And then you can also see the end result. They send the report in when there's a potential for excess emissions. So sometimes there ended up not being any, and you can see which ones resulted in no excess emissions versus which ones actually did. Really simple, really concise, functional resource that I'm really happy with. And so moving on again, we have our enforcement actions dashboard. Very similar in structure to our excess emissions event dashboard, except that it contains records of notices of violations, settlements, agreed board orders, other enforcement documents produced by the APCD. And so I'll open that for you here. And so you can filter by date, by responsible party, violation type, status, and zip code. And like the last one, it's just got the responsible party, all that information, and you can click into these notice of violation NOV links to get the document itself. And just like that, there for your download or just for reading. And you can also see settlement documents. Anything that's underlined here in these tables is a link for you to click, and you can get those documents for whatever use you'd like. Again, really concise, simple dashboard, really functional. And sorry, the excess emissions event dashboard is updated on a delayed monthly schedule, I believe. And I want to clarify that it is not a replacement for info provided by first responders in the event of an emergency. And then our enforcement dashboard is updated as documents are posted. So got a little ahead of myself there, but just wanted to make sure we had those clarifications. And then I think the last thing that I'm going to talk to you about is just assorted other maps on our website. So we have our APC permitted facilities map, which is a really simple map just showing all the facilities in the city that are required to hold permits with the district. And they're filtered by permit type. And you can actually come up here. There you go, and filter it by yourself. So if you wanted to just see Title V's, which are the really big companies with the most robust permits, lots of emissions, you can filter down and you can click and see their location, their information, their address, type of permit. You can even get the permit number for your reference if you want to submit a records request, anything like that. Very simple, but a lot of information in kind of a dense little map. And then we also have our APC monitoring sites. map, which is just kind of a way to get those monitoring site locations embedded onto a web page. It doesn't really have any information that wasn't in that first resource we looked at, Louisville Air Watch. It's just the location of our APCD monitoring sites. And with that, unless I'm missing anything really glaring, I'm going to pass you back to Matt. And I appreciate you bearing with me. Hopefully I was nice and clear, and looking forward to any questions you might have.
Yes, thank you, Ben. I'm going to share my screen now. Get back to the presentation. Ben, thank you so much. You did an excellent job. And just to remind everyone, if you have any questions, please continue to feel free to drop them in the chat or hold on to them until the Q&A session. We'll be happy to answer them. But we've already got a couple questions answered in the chat, so that's definitely a useful tool as well. So just a couple other resources and information to mention after what Ben went through. So like I mentioned earlier, APCD collects annual emissions inventories from our permitted facilities. All of those emissions inventories are public documents and are available through an open records request. I know there's sometimes a feeling associated with open records requests, but we have a great open records coordinator. He works very well and very quickly on open records requests. So we know that if you put that request in, you'll get those documents as quickly as we're able to get them to you. Also, each month before our board meetings, which we have an air pollution control board meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. It's on the third Wednesday of each month, yes. There are a variety of reports produced for the board. It's a lot of similar information to what goes into those dashboards, but they're available on our board website page as well. We also have an annual report that we produce each year that kind of goes over some of the highlights of our operations each year and provides an air quality update. I say recently on here, when I say recent report, I mean at the beginning of this year on new air toxics monitoring that we're doing at our Algonquin Parkway site. There's a full report of that on our website. It can be found on our air quality data page, on our air toxics monitoring page, and a variety of other places. I'll make sure that it is linked in this presentation when we post it afterwards. So that's a couple of different other places to get information from APCD. I absolutely understand that what we just went through and what I've just talked about is an absolute mammoth amount of information. Like I mentioned earlier, we are always happy to hear from you at air@louisvilleky.gov if you have questions about our data, about our resources. We want to make sure that this is explained to you and available to you. Just throwing it out on our website is no way to make it accessible. We understand that completely. So now that we've kind of covered our resources and our data, I will move on to touch on a couple of places that are not our resources that might be useful to you. One of which is AirNow. So AirNow is an EPA resource that provides very similar information to what we provide through Louisville AirWatch. It's live AQI values, but they do that nationally. So you can get AQI values for Louisville, for any other part of the country. Really, I was about to list off places, but I don't need to do that. You get the picture. But another service that AirNow provides, which is a newer resource, but came in handy this summer, is their fire and smoke map. So their fire and smoke map provides live air quality information in the same way that the other AirNow resource does, but it also provides data on where any forest fires are and a variety of other like smoke plumes and things like that to kind of better visualize the air quality impacts from smoke events. So that's a great resource. I'm not gonna get too close into resources, so we leave a lot of time for question and answer. But that's AirNow. There's also EPA Air Data. So EPA Air Data is basically a giant hub and database for air monitoring data. It has you can download Excel sheets, things like that, of air monitoring data, kind of like what goes into our dashboards. It also has tools that produce a wide variety of visualizations, like a tile plot, or I use this a lot to get ready for presentations, to provide air quality data to folks who are curious about it. It is just an absolute hub of air quality data. I couldn't recommend it more. So moving on from that, we have the National Emissions Inventory. Ben mentioned that this is the data that goes into our emissions inventory dashboard that he covered. So this is a database for air monitoring data that is produced by EPA. It's produced every 3 years. Uh, the data produced in this inventory is submitted by state and local air monitoring agencies, uh, which comes from our emissions inventory program, and it also comes from modeling for sources that we don't have emissions inventories for, like cars, vehicle emissions, smaller sources like homes, etc. So that's a great resource, again, produced every 3 years for air data. And we also have the toxics release inventory, which is another resource produced by EPA. TRI data are reported directly to EPA by certain industrial facilities and sources. EPA makes these data available online through multiple online tools like their TRI Explorer. That link down there at the bottom of this slide will take you to it. It includes, unlike the National Air Emissions Inventory or some of the resources that we produce, uh, it includes air, water, and waste releases, and it's produced on an annual basis as opposed to the every 3 year basis that the National Emissions Inventory is. A couple of other local resources. Logic is a hub for Louisville Metro data that's available for download. It's Louisville Metro's open data portal, so it's a great resource for those who want to learn more about Louisville Metro government operations, including ours. They have a couple other resources that we've linked on there, which are maps with informational layers, the Logic Map Hub. I implore you to explore all of those. Great resource, a lot of neat visualizations that you can learn more about our community. I also have linked KIPTA's website, which has a lot of local transportation data and resources available for you to peruse as well from those mobile sources and a variety of other places. So that is some other resources outside of APCD's own. And now we will start to transition into our question and answer session. So